Welcome to this month's Disability and podcast, bringing together thoughtful discussion and debate. This month, Mind the Gap's associate producer, Paul Wilshaw, chats with touring director Tamara Searle and ensemble member Scott Price from the award-winning Australian theatre company Back to Back. Paul spoke to Back to Back in November 2022, whilst the company were at Leeds Playhouse with their most recent touring show, The Shadow Whose Prey the Hunter Becomes. Further details can be found at www.backtobacktheatre.com.
Hello listeners and welcome to Disability Arts Online and Mind the Gap's podcast with Back to Back. I'd like to welcome Tamara and Scott from Back to Back.
Hi.
Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Scott Price. I'm an actor and advisor in this show called Shadow.
And I'm Tamara Searle, and I'm Artistic Associate at Back to Back Theatre. And on this particular journey to Leeds and to the UK, I'm the touring director for The Shadow Whose Prey the Hunter Becomes, which is presented at the Leeds Playhouse over the next 4 or 5 nights.
So can you tell us about Back to Back? What does the company do and how long has it been going?
So so just to give you a quick context around like Back to Back Theatre. So Back to Back Theatre actually formed in 1987, at the time of deinstitutionalisation. So I'm trying to get my words correct. So we're trying to do stuff around like arts practices and and music. I think they came up with a program called the Big Bad Band, which is like a band like in Geelong there. And then I think they did a few shows like in the late 90s, early 1990s, and I think it became its own sort of like independent sort of like just becoming around. But in I think it might be like 94, 92, one of the two, like one of those sort of eras, and I think so Back to Back does a lot of like touring, theatre. I think we made we made a couple of films. About us and documentations about us and and we made a film called Shadow, which also made under the pressures of a pandemic. Which is and I've performed in around about 5 different shows, I reckon, which is interesting enough. So
how long have you been with the company, Scott?
So I've been good question. So I've been in the company around about 15 years, but I've been involved with different sort of projects for 17, because there's a second ensemble called Theatre Speed, which which actually gathers at our studios in Geelong every Wednesday, and they do sort of experimental it's kind of like a lab, it's like a laboratory for art.
So do you just work on projects when they come, or what training do you do?
So Paul, so just to give you a good context, I did not have any training whatsoever there, because I think I came through obviously the Wednesday Good Field Speed, so I didn't have any training also. I think it was actually I was so put on the spot. I think I was what's that word? So I'm just literally stuffing up. So I was actually learning on the job. So I was learning the job.
Yeah, so Theatre of Speed is an ensemble which trains people to become actors. But whilst it's training them, we're also using it as an experimental...
a lab.
A lab to try out ideas, creative ideas.
Okay.
And Scott was a member of that for many years before he became a member of our permanent ensemble of 5 to 6 actors who have an intellectual disability who make our main stage works and also work on community projects and leadership... the people in leadership in our company.
Yeah, I think what it is, Tamara, so I was only here for about 2 years there before I joined. I think it was being trained. But I think to answer other questions here, just about like projects here. So we actually get like asked about different projects, like so whether or not say it was like in like some conversation around the Q&As and you know what I mean, and was it like and just conversation around like research and stuff like that. So yeah, I think so for this latest project was like there was some article like in the New York Times here where like a group of disabilities, so people with disabilities got abused in some like work, was it? No, so it was some sort of workplace settings here where it was like basically about exploitation.
Yeah. And Tamara, how did you start?
So I came into contact with the company by watching their work, and then I wanted to know more, so I came to an open workshop that was being run by Theatre of Speed, and in fact Scott was in it, and that was way back in 2010 or something. And I was just so amazed by the kind of level of complexity of the work that was unfolding in the room, that I applied to do an internship at the company, and I did an internship for 6 weeks, and then I started doing freelance work with the company, and then I applied for the job as artistic associate when it came up in 2012, and I've been there since then.
So 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
So 10-year anniversary, and you come to the UK.
Yeah.
I was the 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, so I wasn't gonna mention, but I knew it was like the 10-year anniversary, but didn't mention it. So it was
It's a great company to work for, and I've always felt like I've been very much at home and welcomed into the company. The work takes a long time, and because of that, the cycle of making work is slow, and so it doesn't feel like a long time.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's a long time to try and make our work. So
okay, that's really interesting. And you're over here at the moment with the shadow whose prey the hunter becomes. First of all, what's it like to be in the UK?
Well, at the moment, I'm just loving the Yorkshire accents. But also, I got to, when I was in London, I took it on my day off. I took a train out to Stonehenge.
Okay.
And I know that's very touristy, but I just
this.
loved it, and I loved getting out into the British countryside and just seeing the ancient forms there.
Yeah, because our listeners will know that I'm actually from Dorset, so it's near Stonehenge. So yeah. Okay. You said that your shows take a long time to make. So can you tell us about the artistic direction that your shows take and who makes those decisions, please?
So it's I think it's like it's a collective. Will I be correct in saying that? Yeah. So so we're also like what's it called? Like it's like co-authors, authors, and like we also contribute like to like the whole writing of the whole project. So it's a collective.
And frequently, there's always big discussions going on back to back, and we're always in discussion with each other about what's obsessing us and what's troubling us. And so we are in conversation all the time about that. And
we are.
The actors generate the ideas that they want to work on and the kind of concerns that they want to address through their work. And then we find kind of material that can hold those concerns and all of their unique kind of performance abilities as well. And they're shaped through discussion and improvisation, and sometimes it's shaped also by who do you want to work with and who's available and what size theatre will this show be in and where do we need to take our work. And gradually through improvisation and discussion we craft a script. That script gets edited and rehearsed and
Bruce always has an ear out, for big concerns that we have there. So he's always like keeping an eye on no, it wasn't not an eye, but so an ear out for for juicy stuff. So
Bruce Gladwin is the artistic director of Back to Back.
He is, yeah.
And he's the co-writer and director of the Shadow Whose Prey the Hunter Becomes.
He is, yeah.
Okay, so can you tell us a bit about the show? The Shadow, Whose Prey the Hunter Becomes. Can you tell us a bit about the topics that you deal with?
So the topics are around, like, there's a few topics, like, themes around about topics around the show. So yeah, so the two main ones around about so artificial intelligence and dispute activism, yeah, so, and the discourse around dispute activism, and yeah, and so who do basically like to speak up to, like, sort of stuff. I think so the other minor themes around it is, like, yeah, is around gender politics, I don't know, Tamara, what are some other ones, like?
It's about the way that AI is influencing the world and what it will be like when AI becomes smarter than human intelligence.
That's kind of coming into a lot of things at the moment. And what do you feel about that personally?
In terms of myself, like, I think, like, yeah, so you have to, like, put in, like, yeah, so be good from the bad, yeah, because, like, yeah, so if you turn to good, it might be like, useful, to, and for example, like, yeah, so I'm against it, like, yeah, like, so kill robots, yeah, so I'm against that, but it's really interesting because, like, the whole algorithms, have actually changed a lot, like, in regards, like, yeah, so say, for example, like, yeah, for Meta, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like, the algorithms have all changed, which is really interesting. Yeah.
Actually, you said something really interesting about who you want to collaborate with. So I want to go there. Who are those companies that you would like to collaborate with, or artists you would like to collaborate with in the future? And that's to both of you and Scott.
No, I mean, like, Paul, it's a really good question. No, it's a really good question. So in the future, maybe, like, a few, like, stunt works, like, maybe, like, indigenous, like, artists maybe within Australia. I think, yeah, because, like, waste seems to be maybe a bit of a topic at the moment in one of my shows, or not so much that, but one of my future shows, yeah. So maybe a few, like indigenous Australians, yeah, or artists, yeah.
Scott's working on a project called Sound Aid, and he's working on that with an artist called Jackson Castiglione, who's worked with us a bit before. And he's one of the collaborators we like working with. Do you want to talk about Sound Aid, Scott?
Yeah, I do. So just to give you a quick context again, so it's about myself trying to say rock music, yeah, so from dying out, like, yeah, from this teen pop, like juggernauts here, which is interesting enough because I mean, like, yeah, so when you hear something like this, it's just about, like, mainstream pop and pop music and teen pop, and it's really interesting because, like, yeah, because I'm more sort of, like, like, yeah, rock only, like, ordinated sort of, like, persons here, so
So it's going to be a TV show or a web
well,
show?
I mean, well, hoping it'll be, like, yeah, sort of webisode.
It's Scott's on a crusade to save rock music from teen pop.
I like that. That sounds like kind of my thing. That definitely.
It does, yeah, which is interesting enough. So it's sort of like yeah.
And you're interviewing lots of different rock musicians, aren't you?
I am, and, like, yeah, and journalists and, like, like, other sort of teen pop sort of influences. So
yeah.
Who would be the one artist that you would really like to interview?
Oh God, that's Paul. That's a really good question. Look, I'm gonna say either, like, so Brian Johnson from from AC/DC, or maybe, like, yeah, the Angels, like, like the Aussie hard rock band, the Angels, or something like that.
That'd be cool. Okay, Tamara, who would you like to collaborate with?
Wow, I think I'd like to collaborate with lots of artists who are already dead. Yeah, like David Bowie and Susan Hiller, who's a visual artist who's got work in the Leeds Gallery. Who would I like? I'd love to collaborate with Forced Entertainment, who are local, and I'm looking forward to collaborating with Mind the Gap on Friday.
I can't wait for that. I'm going to be in the room for that.
Yeah,
I'm
cool.
really looking forward to that. Okay, can you tell us a bit about what the disability art scene is like in Australia?
It's actually improving. Would you say, Tamara, it's improving? Yeah. Because I think, like, yeah, so we're actually now, like, so the only, like, theatre company which has a full-time ensemble, but I don't think is that the case or still?
That is true, yeah. So in Australia, there's, in fact, mostly around the world, there's not very many companies that have ensembles of actors, but certainly there's none in Australia that have an ensemble of actors, except for back-to-back theatre, who pay their actors full-time. There's circus ensembles and there's dance ensembles, but there's no theatre ensembles. Except for back-to-back.
I think it's really interesting because, like, you know, I mean, like, yeah, so the whole NDIS there, which is like the National Disability Insurance Scheme, so this is probably not going to make any sense, you know, like, yeah, so to any sort of, like, yeah, so British listener who's listening to this at this time, yeah.
So, but what is it? What is the NDIS? It's
so it's
rather than talking about it in Australian terms, what does it do?
Yeah, no, I can explain it. All good. Yeah, so it's still like, you know, like, yeah, so a insurance schemes there, or like insurance where so if you get fundings there, if you have sort of like fundings there, then, you know, you get to do all these sort of activities there. So for example, so yeah, these NDIS like funds me to do back-to-back theatres here.
Okay, so a bit like the Arts Council over here.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, so it's not Arts Council
funding.
funding.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's to support people, any person with a disability, to contribute to society and to receive support to live in the way that they want to. But people within our company can use it to get support to become actors.
Yeah,
which is really interesting. Because I go like because like so I think at the start I was like against this there, but I think now it's actually improved so.
It's provided a lot of choice for people. So prior to that, you had to kind of sign up for programs in particular places. But now your money you get to choose what you do with the government funding. I think it's still seen in Australia as something quite fringe and something quite radical as well. Like, people are quite surprised at it still. And recently, Back-to-Back Theatre were awarded the Ibsen Award, which is a really famous theatre prize. So there was a lot of media around the company, and yet still so many people said, oh wow, isn't this amazing? They'd never heard of the company, and they were just amazed that anyone with a disability could make theatre at all. And there's still lots of attitudes that in Australia that are ableist around art and people with disabilities, and they don't even realise that they're ableist either. But also there's lots of interest in it as well. So both things are happening at the same time. There's lots of ignorance and there's lots of people who are questioning what it means to be more vulnerable, and how we can work better to support people who are vulnerable.
I mean, like, you know, we've actually made approval on say, because like we've won the Ibsen Awards here. So I mean, like, so does that say something? I think it does, yeah.
What does it say?
Well, it says that but like, you know, I mean, and just to put in context somehow, like, you know, like, that. So if we can achieve anything, like, so being like, so we can actually achieve anything there. So if we put our minds to it, and that's apparent.
Yeah, definitely. So you said about the media, and it is a major thing around the way that people in the media talk about disability in general, and the fact that I personally feel, this is not Mind the Gap thing, this is my own thing, is that they have a problem of writing stuff that's negative about a performance sometimes.
Yeah, they do.
Because they don't want to offend us as disabled people. Is that something that Back-to-Back has faced as well, or is this just my own perception of the media?
No, it's actually true, Paul. I mean, like, so in Australia, I mean, like, so people with autism tend to get like demonized because, like, you know, I mean, like so within the current affairs programs, but I mean, that so they're sort of seen like to be like these TNT, you know, slash meltdowny and stuff like that. So it's the way tend to, you know, I mean, like, to focus on like the bad stuff around autism's here, and I think it's really not true at all. I mean, like, so I mean, I've known, like, you know, about so many people with autism's here, like, so to be really good people. I think I probably got put like in a box here when I was a bit younger, because I you know, was sort of seen to be like, you know, to be different or playing up there, and that was really, you know, like, such a bad look. I mean, so not on my behalf, but on the other autistic people's community, and it was because of that, you know, Well, like, yeah, so I sort of spoke up, you know, like for other people, autism, and this is based on my job. So, you know, I became a disability asthma, so not by choice, but by force, and that was, well, why is it interesting enough, and that was me going, trying to speak up for other people, so, yeah.
But what do you think about the way that people with disabilities who are artists, how does the media respond to their work in Australia?
Look, good question, Tamara. So I don't think we have an answer to that. I think you might have to answer Tamara, that's a parent, or...
Yeah, I think it can go both ways. I think that some people are too afraid to comment on the art and end up condescending because they're too scared to say what they think about it because it's someone with a disability and they might offend them. And that's a big problem in society at the moment. Is it's kind of related to cancel culture, that people can't say what they want because they're afraid that people will take it as an identity, someone being offensive to someone's identity.
Sorry, Tamara, I was only just speaking from personal experience, but that's okay, all good.
No, I think personal experience is really important. This is kind of what our listeners want to hear, is the personal experiences, I would say. And there was something that you said just really interesting, and it's something I've been lucky enough to watch the video of the show, so I know there's one thing about you said about being forced into being an advocate for disabled people.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
How have you found that? Like, you said you've been forced, but have you enjoyed it, or has there been issues where you've... Yeah.
I've enjoyed it one a little bit. I think yeah, like, you know, if I hear someone saying, oh, like, you know, like, yeah, so, like, be hours, I'd go, and I just sometimes go, hey, can you not use that word? And I've called people out on this many times, yeah, which is interesting enough. So this is me going, well, like, yeah, so what's the common language of that, yeah? But yet again, like, yeah, so say, for example, like, you know, I mean, like, yeah, so that, like, yeah, or like, yeah, that's, if you, like, target someone person so with a disability, or go, hey, well, like, yeah, so if your disability is embarrassing, you know, it's not embarrassing or shameful, yeah, it's just who you are and, like, how you're basically different, and, you know, it's, so I speak up for some of my friends, yeah, and it's really, so I've actually enjoyed it, to say the least, yeah.
On your website, you state that you, I might get this pronunciation wrong, so you might have to help me out on this, Radurung people.
That was great.
Are the traditional owners and custodians of Geelong, where you are based, and that you pay your respects to their ancestors, past, present and future, and commit yourself to reconciliation and justice for indigenous people. I was wondering, how do you go about working with that community and your local communities in Australia?
That's a great question. It's a really, really, really important and great question, and I'm going to offer it to you first.
Look, Tamara, Paul, I think for me it's only still, like, you know, like, yeah, it's early stages for me, and yeah, so we're still trying to basically, you know, like, yeah, to reconcile, like, yeah, to, like, yeah, so to our own, so, like, so Indigenous land, and yeah, and just, like, the way we work around Indigenous people. I think it's still only, like, early stages for me, like, on how we work with people with Indigenous, you know, backgrounds. So I think we've only just, you know, like, winning up, like, something like last year, so it's still, like, a work in progress, so.
Okay, so Australia is coming through a reckoning of its colonial past, and it's, many people would say it is still being colonised. And I guess I would agree with that. And the other day we were in Brighton. When we were in Brighton, we ran a workshop with a group of disability artists with disability there, and we asked the question, what would happen if all white Australians had to come back to the UK?
Yeah. True.
Would you accept us back here, and would you let us share your houses and land?
Yeah.
Because we made a pretend game where we had to leave Australia because the First Nations people were being given back all of the land. Yeah. And then we played it out as role plays.
We did.
Into the UK.
We had to evacuate Australia in order to, like, you know, like, to First Nations people to actually get back their land.
Yeah, so it's politically fraught
Yeah.
and culturally sensitive. And,
all fired up.
Yeah, all fired up. And we, in all of our kind of public kind of facing across Australia, pretty much we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. And the Wadawurrung, as you said, perfectly. The bit you didn't say perfectly was Geelong. We're from Geelong.
Geelong.
Yeah.
Geelong. No, all good, all good.
It's fine. And each kind of district of Australia has a different cultural group, and they've got their own cultural traditions which they're very immersed in, and they are creating their own art, and they don't have to collaborate with us to make worthy, beautiful art and important art. So we're learning as we work to be respectful of what has happened in the past, and that's doing cultural awareness training and making invitations and offers at every step to traditional owners or traditional custodians to be part of what we're doing all the time.
I actually am going to go back. You mentioned Shadow, which
did.
was the show during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I think it was different for...
Look, so I probably don't have much information, although we, too. So,
No, speak about it, it's fine.
Sure?
Yeah.
Well, look, so just to give a quick context, we just made it, it's under the enormous pressure of the pandemic, and
So it's a film.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a feature length film, and it is based on the stage production. It's not exactly the same.
So I don't think it's a feature. I think it's more sort of mid length.
Okay, it's not feature length.
No, it's mid length.
I didn't know that.
No,
I thought it was feature length. And yeah, we made it coming out of lockdown. In fact, I think we had to get special permissions to even kind of do anything to be able to film it. It was at the end of 2 years ago that they were filming it.
It was, yeah.
And it's had its premiere at South by Southwest Film Festival.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
Has it premiered in Europe?
Yeah, it has. It has.
And it premiered at Edinburgh as
yeah,
well.
it did.
At the Edinburgh Film Festival.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't so allowed to say much about it, because I sort of had difficulty working on it, which I won't go into that sort of thing. So,
but it's also, I think the reason you're feeling uncomfortable talking about it may be because it hasn't had its UK premiere yet, but it will.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, I'll leave Tamara for words.
No, that's absolutely fine. UK theatres, UK film places.
Yeah.
Brighton, I know that you've got a film festival.
Yeah.
Come and get the film.
And didn't it get the audience award at the South by Southwest?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It
so
did.
it won the audience.
It did.
Audience's choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to say before, I can probably take so a bit bad from the good. So.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. And the pandemic, I think, hit everyone. And what it was like for people in England is probably, it was really different than what happened over in Australia.
Yeah.
I think we probably should have taken a lot of Australia's stuff over.
No, fair enough.
I don't know. We were in lockdown for a very, very, very long time.
We were. Melbourne was
terrible,
probably Melbourne was probably be second largest lockdown. I think it was this is fact checking it. It was so a small city, so in Argentina, which I think was actually the longest. So we were the second largest.
Longest.
So the second largest lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard for everyone, and I'm glad that you've done a film about it, because I think it's so you've got Sound 8 coming, so you've got that in December and January.
Yeah.
What's the next major show as well as Sound 8? What
you want to talk about it?
I'll talk about it. So just to give a quick description, it's about multiple bad things, yeah. And so just to give a quick starting point, I think it was around identity. Was that right? Or identity or?
Yeah. Yep. It's called Multiple Bad Things, and it's about multiple bad things, and it's about a group of people trying to survive through perhaps an apocalypse, or perhaps they're just trying to survive in the everyday world that they're living in.
You're over at Leeds, and Transform, who is part of that have got you over here to Leeds. But you're also coming to Mind the Gap, which, like I said, I'm really excited about. So can you tell us about what you're going to be doing in this workshop with us? So I've got a bit of a sneak peek beforehand.
So we are coming to Mind the Gap in Bradford on Friday, and the ensemble and I, the artists from the ensemble who are here, and I will be running a workshop in theatre making techniques with the Mind the Gap ensemble, and hopefully we will be getting a tour of your space.
Yeah, you certainly will be having a tour of our space.
And I believe the very next day after that workshop that I run, my other colleague Ingrid Vorent is co-running a workshop with Mind the Gap for a broader
audience in Leeds at the Leeds Playhouse.
Yes.
So yeah, it's exciting times. You get so people will be able to see the show on the Wednesday to the Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
What other things are you doing?
There's a Q&A on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm doing the Q&A.
Oh, fantastic!
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm actually doing it with Joyce Lee.
Great.
So you're going to have me as the Q&A person.
Excellent.
So yeah.
So we're doing that. That's another wraparound kind of activity. And so my other colleague is out at the moment at Cambridge filming a Democratic Set, which is a collaborative filmmaking project that Back to Back do, where anyone from the community can come along and perform a small moment in a frame that we have, and then all of these frames are put together, and it's a portrait of a community.
Yeah. Before we came in here, you were telling me about the work that you've been doing, the touring work that you've been doing. So can you tell me a bit about what other shows you've been up to and what you've been doing?
Look, I had to say before again, so we've just been performing Shadow Light and Night, in different sort of cities. So we've been to Canberra in the ACT, so in Australia. So that's our capital of Australia. We've been to Brussels, Vienna, Oslo to pick up our award, which is the Isma Award, which I thought was quite great, and that was a really good ceremony, to say the least. So 3 cities in Switzerland, which was Basel, Zurich, and Geneva, and I think we also went to Groningen in the Netherlands, and then went to Hamburg in Germany. So yeah, it was really quite cool just to visit other cities and just to see what the culture is like there.
There might not be people that know about the award that you've got, because it is prestigious in the theatre industry.
It is.
And from my knowledge, because I've done a bit of research, it's the first disabled company that actually has got this award. So
yeah.
And it was over in Switzerland.
Whereabouts
was it?
So it was over in Oslo, in Norway.
Okay, so was it? How many of you went over to Oslo? And
there's a lot of people. I've lost count on how many people went over.
Lots of people went to Oslo. Like people who were friends of the company went to kind of watch the award unfold, because it was a significant moment for theatre in Australia. It was. Not only is this a company representing people with disabilities all over the world, it represents Australia, and Australia is not particularly known for its theatre. So it was a big moment for Australian theatre, and lots of our collaborators make us great, and they come from all over Australia.
And then you're going back to Australia.
Yeah.
Are you finished for or have you got things that you're going to be doing in December?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I think we're doing a showing. Is that right?
Yeah, we have more creative development all the way through until the week before Christmas. One of our other ensemble members has a show up in Sydney. Sarah Mannering has a small solo show. So each of the artists in the main ensemble in the last 2 years made a solo work or is still making a solo work, and we called them their ensemble-led projects. So they got to choose what they were doing and why they were doing it. And Scott's ensemble-led project is Sound Aid, and Sarah, who's in the ensemble, her ensemble-led project is called Elephant, and it's having a showing in Sydney in December. And the other ensemble member who's with The Shadow Whose Prey the Hunter Becomes is Simon Laity, and his ensemble-led project is called Brittany, and he's a massive fan of Britney Spears, and he's making a stage show about him and Britney.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's got to come over here.
Yeah.
Sound aid and that show have got to come over.
Yeah.
You know, I can see a collaboration on those two pieces straight away.
Not really.
So Scott really does not like Britney Spears because it really, you know, she fits in the teen pop kind of
she does.
category. And so...
That's why I can see the double bill, bill showing.
It's funny. It's sort of like
That's the producer head on me straight away.
It is. Good.
I'm sure you will, Paul, too. Like any producer, yeah.
I would really like to say thank you to both you, Tamara, and to you, Scott.
Thank you.
This has been a brilliant podcast.
Anytime.
Really, I'm looking forward to seeing the show and doing the Q&A with you both, with the whole team.
I look forward to hearing the podcast. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We do hope you enjoyed this month's podcast. A massive thank you to Tamara Searle and Scott Price. And our thanks to Paul for being a great host.